Good afternoon. In today's episode, we're going to discuss some isolation valves, most particularly the Sylax 3 wafer-style butterfly valve that Flomatic offers. Anywhere there's a pumping system and fluid is moving, it's a great idea to have some isolation valves in your system. Depending upon the media and what the system is designed for, butterfly valve might be the ideal choice. The advantage of a wafer-style butterfly valve is the small size. In areas where space constraints are a concern, maybe on booster pumping systems, tight pump rooms, this could be a good option for your system. So a butterfly valve is an isolation valve. This will shut your system off and allow for maintenance, valve repair, pump repair, whatever the case may be. Sylax butterfly valves are offered in a ductile iron configuration, 3/16 stainless steel disc, and an EPDM rubber seal. This seal is vulcanized to the body, and the only materials that are going to see the media will be that disc, that stainless steel disc, and that EPDM seal. NSF 61 certification and NSF 372 come standard on this valve. Along with the stainless steel disc, there is also a stainless steel square stem, which allows for a non-fluttering disc in flow conditions. It's a very tight connection in this disc and stem connection, which comes all the way up through to our standard ISO 5211 mounting plate. That being said, these valves are offered with a 10-position handle, lockable handle at that, nice ergonomic design, curved handle, which many of our customers find very advantageous, especially on booster systems. They also come available with a gearbox, a worm gear with a hand wheel, and we can also automate these with electric actuators or pneumatic actuation, depending upon the needs of your system. Although these are both wafer valves, Flomatic nomenclature does have a difference. The valve here on my right, you'll notice a lugged connection, a threaded lug connection. This is the Flomatic lug style butterfly valve. In this particular instance, you would have threaded rod or bolts coming from both directions through the flange, tying into the valve and holding it in place. Flomatic's wafer style butterfly valve, you'll notice, does not have the threaded lug connections. Okay, so in this scenario here, this would also be sandwiched between two flanges. However, you would have some long bolts or long threaded rod, and it would be anchored on both sides. The advantage to the full lug compared to the wafer is that this style valve can now be used for dead end service. So if we have to, like I said, dead end service, if it's at the end of a pipeline, this valve can stay in place with only one flange. Also, if you're maintaining a system and you need to disconnect pipe from this valve, you can pull the bolts out of one side, perform maintenance on the side that you removed it from, and this valve will stay in place attached to the other flange, isolating your pipeline and keeping your pipeline pressurized. The Sylax 3 butterfly valve will mate to ANSI class 125 or 150 flanges. Pressure rating is 250 psi, again, dead end service. These could be used, again, booster pumping systems, small pump buildings, anywhere an isolation in your system is required. They can be used potable water applications, possibly some wastewater applications. I would not recommend a valve of this style for a true black water application, perhaps a gray water or a polished water. You might find them in irrigation systems, maybe even some commercial industrial type applications. Again, anywhere we need to control the flow, service the system, we need an isolation valve. These butterfly valves are offered in a size range of 1.5" to 12" in full lug style and 2" to 12" in wafer style. As I had mentioned, the top mounting under this handle right here will meet the ISO 5211 mounting standards. Therefore, applications such as electric automation or pneumatic automation can be easily adapted to the valve. For any actuation applications, please consult the factory to discuss the needs of the system. Some advantages to butterfly valves, particularly your wafer style, would be your size, minimal footprint, ease and quick operation of the valve. This is a quarter-turn valve, therefore we only have to move the disc 90 degrees compared to other multi-turn valves such as gate valves. Very little maintenance, as long as these valves are subjected to the proper operating conditions. Minimal, if any, maintenance is required. We would recommend inspecting them periodically for perhaps leaks out of the stem or out of the flange connection. Again, very robust. The coating on these valves is supreme. Corrosion resistance is great. And again, the only thing that's going to see the media is this 3/16 stainless steel disc and this EPDM seal. You'll also notice with this style butterfly valve is that the vulcanized seal protrudes outside of the valve body. Therefore, when a mating flange, or when this valve is installed between a mating flange, it is not necessary to utilize a flange gasket. The protrusion of this seat will actually act as that gasket and allow for that watertight seal between the valve and flange connection. When installing these valves, the full lug style will be fairly convenient to put in your pipeline. Your bolt holes will align with your flange connection. However, when utilizing a wafer style valve and the through bolts or the threaded rod that I had discussed, it is very important that this valve be aligned in your pipeline so that there is no disc interference with the internal ID of the pipe. A little more difficult, especially when you get to larger size valves and you have to support the weight of this while centering it with your pipeline. Maintenance purposes, generally, again, if they're subject to proper operating conditions, very little maintenance is required on these valves. Again, look for leaks. For valves that are not utilized on a regular basis, we would highly recommend that these valves be exercised occasionally. This will help keep things moving from seizing up in the future. Nothing major needs to be done, maybe a quick open and close, or close and open depending upon the standard position of your valve. In summary, very unique, small, compact valve for your isolation applications. NSF 61 certified, NSF 372 certified, bi-directional dead end shutoff of 250 PSI. Nice, easy 10 position handle or gearbox or automation. Epoxy coated, fusion bonded epoxy coating, very robust coating on this valve, and very small footprint for those applications where you have minimal space to work. Check valves and isolation.